Let's talk about healthcare. It is going through this absolutely seismic shift right now, all powered by tech that's changing literally everything, from how we care for patients to how hospitals even run. And in this new world, the old ways of leading, they just don't cut it anymore. So today, we're going to tear down the old rulebook and build the new one for digital leadership and healthcare.
So, let me ask you this, straight up. In a world full of AI and big data, is your leadership playbook, well, is it obsolete? Because the hard truth is that the strategies that worked wonders even 5 years ago are now gasping for air, just trying to keep up with the insane speed of change.
So what's the real difference here? Well, think about it. Traditional leadership, that was all about gut feelings, right? Leaning on past experience, it was focused inward on the organization, and it was mostly reacting to things. Digital leadership, on the other hand, is a whole new ballgame. It is driven by hard data, it looks at the entire healthcare ecosystem, and here's the kicker. It doesn't wait for change, it goes out and drives it.
Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to build this modern digital leader from the ground up. And any good building starts with a solid foundation, which in this case is speaking the language. And look, when we say digital literacy, we're not just talking about knowing how to turn on a computer or use an app. For a leader today, it's so much deeper than that. It's about really understanding the strategic implications of technology. It means you can actually sit down with your tech folks and have a real, meaningful conversation about where you need to take this organization.
So what's this new language made of? Don't worry, you don't have to become a coder, but you do need to wrap your head around a few core ideas. Things like cloud computing, and that's not just about storage, it's about being agile. You got to get the basics of cybersecurity because you're protecting people's most private data. And you need to understand how modern digital business models actually work. These aren't just buzzwords, okay? They're the literal building blocks of your strategy.
And you know the best part? You don't need to go back to school for a computer science degree. Building this literacy is something you can actively do. You've got to get out there, go to the conferences, find a mentor, someone who can translate all the tech speak for you. Read everything you can get your hands on. And probably most important, don't be afraid to roll up your sleeves and actually play around with some of these new tools yourself.
So, once you're speaking the language, you've got the foundation. Now it's time to install the engine that's really going to power your organization forward. And that engine is data. It's all about data-driven decisions.
This is a huge cultural shift. It means moving away from a culture of, I have a gut feeling about this, to one that's based on evidence. Of course, that means you need the right infrastructure to keep that data safe, and you need the analytical muscle to make sense of it all. But the real magic happens when you empower your people to turn those complex numbers into simple, clear actions that actually make a difference.
But let's be super clear on this point. This is not about letting algorithms run the show. Data is an unbelievably powerful tool, but it's meant to add to human experience, not replace it. The very best leaders are the ones who can masterfully blend the hard data with their deep clinical know-how and their wisdom about the organization.
All right, you've got this powerful data engine humming along. Now what? Well, you need a compass to steer the ship, and that's where modern strategic thinking comes into play. It's how you navigate the, let's be honest, very complex digital future.
First thing, you've got to think wider. Again, nobody's asking you to be an AI programmer, but you have to be the one asking the right questions. What can a technology like AI or the Internet of Things really do? And how can we use it to solve the actual, real-world problems our patients and our staff are facing every single day?
Next, you absolutely have to think safer. You know, every new technology is kind of a double-edged sword. It creates amazing opportunities, but it also opens up new risks. A huge part of being a digital leader is navigating that balance, being a champion for innovation while at the same time being completely obsessed with protecting against cyber attacks and data breaches.
And you also have to think connected. The days of a hospital or a clinic existing in its own little bubble, those are long gone. Your strategy has to break down the walls of your own organization and think about how you work with the entire ecosystem, your partners, the insurers, and of course, the patients themselves.
And finally, you have to always be thinking ahead. Digital transformation isn't some project with an end date. It's a journey that never stops. The best strategic leaders are constantly looking at the horizon, trying to see what's coming next, whether that's an aging population or new public health challenges, and positioning their organization not just to get by, but to actually thrive.
So we've got our foundation, we've got our engine, we have our compass, but there's one final, absolutely essential piece of this puzzle. You need the spark that lights the whole thing up, and that is the innovation mindset. And listen,
This isn't just some fluffy mission statement you put on the wall. It's a real culture that you have to build piece by piece. It means you're genuinely open to ideas from everyone, from the front desk to the boardroom. It means you see failure not as something to be punished, but as a normal part of experimenting and learning. And it means you're always thinking like an entrepreneur, looking for new ways to create value for your patients.
And here's the most crucial part. You can't just tell your team to be innovative. It doesn't work that way. Real transformation only happens when leaders are living and breathing this mindset themselves. You have to model it every day, creating an environment where your team feels safe enough to take risks and truly empowered to think creatively. So let's put it all together. This is it. This is the new playbook. It builds right from the bottom up. You start with that solid foundation of digital literacy. You power it with the engine of data-driven decisions. You guide it with the compass of strategic thinking. And you bring it all to life with the spark of an innovation mindset.
So there you have it. That's the playbook for the modern healthcare leader. I guess the only question left for you is, which chapter are you going to write first?